From a nightmare cruise scenario down in Miami to cruise ships repositioning by Carnival and Royal Caribbean, we have a lot to talk about in today's cruise news. Oh, and they found 200 pounds of cocaine on a cruise ship. We better roll the intro. Welcome to the Midships channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Quickly, as we're getting started, I'd like to point your attention to this, the newest design in the Midships Cruise Amazon store. It's my Alaska Land of the Midnight Sun cruise t-shirt design. You can find it in men's, women's, children's, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all the things. Check it out. There's a link in the description down below. Thank you for letting me pay the bills. Now, let's get into the news. We're taking things down to the port of Miami, and we need to look into a nightmare cruise scenario for many cruisers, me included, and that would be the busiest day ever for a cruise port, which is something that the port of Miami had just a couple weeks ago when they saw 67,600 passengers, say that twice as fast, through the port of Miami in just one day alone, and that is across 8 different cruise ships. 8. Now, we experienced cruisers know that even on the best of days, the port of Miami can be a special kind of torture during your cruise embarkation. Add to that all of the construction going on with the new cruise terminal, road construction, tunnel and bridge construction, and I can't imagine what 60,000 plus passengers had to put up with on that day. But the good news is it sounds like the port was able to accommodate that large surge in people. I'm sure a lot of them had to pack their patience for the day. Now remember, Miami used to be the busiest cruise port in the world, or as some would say, the cruise capital of the world. But she was recently dethroned by Port Canaveral, my home port, as the new cruise capital of the world. And yeah, we're gonna go with that title for now. Something tells me these two ports are going to be slugging it out over the next few years. But when all is said and done, the Port of Miami has room for 1 more berth, and Port Canaveral has room for 3. All right, let's keep the cruise news rolling. We're heading up to the northeast to Maine, where they're mean. Well, some of them. Well, the ones from Bar Harbor. If you've been following cruise news for any amount of time, the residents of Bar Harbor, Maine have voted to restrict or prohibit cruise ships from coming into their town and enjoying their treasures, their natural beauty. They want to keep it all for themselves. They don't want to share it with you, or at least that's what their actions are saying. Well, luckily, stepping up to the plate is the town of Searsport, Maine, who's looking to get in on all of these extra cruise ships who want another place to go. The local governing board there recently voted to take steps that might allow these foreign flag cruise ships to make port. And perhaps the best news here is the port is already able to handle deep water vessels. And you could just imagine what a boon that would be for the 2,600 residents of this small town when a cruise ship comes in every week or two. Could you imagine all of the extra money that would come to the residents there? The extra millions of dollars that would become available to the Searsportians? So it's going to be interesting to see when and who decides to make this new port of Searsport home in an upcoming cruise season. And while we're up here in the Northeast, why don't we head down to Maryland, who is now the official home port of Royal Caribbean's Vision of the Seas. Of course, I'm talking about the port of Baltimore, and she's going to be home ported there through at least April of 2025. So residents of Baltimore and the surrounding areas, you're now just a short drive away from a wonderful Royal Caribbean cruise experience. And that cruise will take you out to places like Bermuda, Bahamas, Come On Pretty Mama, Curacao, Bonaire, Aruba, everything you could possibly want on a tropical cruise. And remember how we just talked about New England itineraries? Well, that ship will also be heading up there in late August and mid-October. So get your credit cards out, folks. There's some pretty cool opportunities to book on Vision of the Seas. And Royal Caribbean isn't the only cruise line looking to move their ships to a more lucrative market, as Carnival Cruise Line just announced a new home port for Carnival Venezia. And yes, I'm talking about the ship that's not even sailed once for Carnival. She already has a new home port. Now, the Venezia is just a few days away from embarking on her inaugural transatlantic voyage over to New York City, where she'll sail her maiden voyage out of next month. And she'll remain in New York until the winter of 2024, where she's going to head down to beautiful Central Florida and operate cruises out of Port Canaveral. the cruise capital of the world. And that's going to be really good news for folks who like to cruise out of Port Canaveral, because in 2024 into 2025, you'll have 5 ships to choose from sailing out of Central Florida. Now, we all know that crime can happen anywhere, and one of those wheres is on board a cruise ship, specifically in Marseille, France, more specifically on board Costa Fabulosa. On May the 2nd, customs officers at the port of Marseille noticed a Brazilian couple acting weird while they were getting off of their Costa Cruise. And by weird, I mean suspicious. As soon as they realized they were going through a drug checkpoint, they turned around and ran back, trying to get on the ship. Agents at the port suspected something was off, so they requested to inspect these passengers' bags. And that's when the female passenger threw the bags into the ocean. Customs officers, though, managed to retrieve the bags, and they found almost 18 pounds of cocaine stashed inside of them. And that's not the only place their search would turn up contraband. Obviously, finding illegal drugs meant they're going to widen their search radius on these folks. And that's when they went up to their stateroom and discovered under their bed were 6 bags that held 200 pounds of the white powder, estimated to be worth nearly $5.5 million. Okay, let's take a quick second and do a calendar check. Oh yeah, we're just a couple of weeks away from the Midships Miami Nights group cruise. There's 1, maybe 2 cabins left on board. If you'd like to get in on the action for 6 nights on Carnival's brand new ship Celebration, check out the Facebook link in the description below this video. I would love to have you join us on this cruise. It's going to be a blast. If you made it this far into today's episode, please make sure you subscribe to the channel with the bell notification turned on, because we all know that YouTube never tells you when I upload my new videos. Trust me, I've gotten a front row seat to that problem as of late. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today, and until next time, we'll see ya on the Midships. I've started hearing a rumbling or two of Norwegian Cruise Line being up to some shenanigans over in the UK as it relates to serving alcohol on their ships in port. If you can confirm or deny that you have had problems getting drinks served in any UK ports, please let me know in the comments down below this video. Thanks for stopping by. If you have any other tips, though, send them out to me. We'll see you tomorrow.
La 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 la.